In this episode, we explore the USDA's unique construction loan program with experts Ed Peace and Joaquin Tremols. Learn about the USDA's single close construction loan, its role in promoting affordable housing in rural areas, and features like no down payment and rolled in closing costs.
Our guarantee is in place before the construction even begins. So that lender is really, any losses are mitigated by our guarantee right up front.
And that's what makes it super unique. It's immediately sellable. It's got the guarantee on it, and you don't see that anywhere else, right? The benefit of knowing your interest rate day one, not having to modify, not having to convert, that seems like a huge selling point to me. I'd like to welcome everybody today to the Construction Lending Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Ferris with Land Gorilla. And today we have two great guests, both from the USDA. We've got Ed Peace, finance and loan analyst for single family housing guaranteed loan division. Ed grew up on a farm in southern Georgia, and graduated from the University of Georgia with a bachelor's degree in agricultural economics. A 30-year employee of USDA's rural development, he has served numerous roles, including loan officer, underwriter, collecting agent, and construction inspector in USDA rural development local offices across Georgia. He is also positioned as a specialist and program director for the single-family housing programs in Georgia's state office. He recently moved over the national headquarters staff on the leader and partner activist activities teams. Sorry about that. He now lives in Blackshear, Georgia, with his wife of 39 years. Together, they have grown three grown children. Additionally, we have Joaquin Tremols, and Joaquin, you've been on the program before, who is director of USDA Single Family Housing Guaranteed Loan Policy and Program Management Division. The program has an outstanding portfolio exceeding $110 billion. Under Joaquin's leadership, the program transitioned from requiring congressional appropriations each year to not needing taxpayer funding. It now pays for itself through the guaranteed fees it charges private sector participants. Joaquin has been involved in the mortgage industry since 1983, joining USDA Rural Development in 1998. Gentlemen, both welcome to the podcast here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Why don't we just jump on in and get to the point? And what's happening at the USDA as it pertains to construction lending?
Yes. So, Sean, it's going really well. We're still have a lot of interest in the construction loans, single close construction loans. A lot of lenders are coming to us needing to learn more about them, and their interest is kind of peaked in it, and so closing good many loans, and still training a lot of lenders on it.
Now, USDA has this really, for those that may not be up to speed, USDA was the first to roll out a one of its kind construction to perm loan program. It's all wrapped up in one. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. So when a lender closes the single close construction loan, it is truly what it says. It's a one-time close loan where the permanent loan is already closed at the closing table. The interest rate is set and locked. The loan is closed. Then the guarantee is issued. USDA's guarantee is issued on that loan, and then construction starts. So our guarantee is in place before the construction even begins. So that lender is really any losses are mitigated by our guarantee right up front.
And that's what makes it super unique. It's immediately sellable. It's got the guarantee on it, and you don't see that anywhere else, right?
That's right. Well, the securitized version is immediately sellable. We actually have two different versions. One of them is the tried and true interest only, where the interest accrues during construction, and that's paid either by the borrower out of pocket, or we can actually create a reserve account for that interest out of loan funds, if the appraised value will allow that. But yes, going back to the securitized version, that is immediately sellable.
Even the securitized version, it's a payment day one, principal. They're making principal and interest payments day one, and that's really what mechanically makes it happen.
That's right. And again, there is a payment reserve for either interest only or the securitized version, where those full PITI payments can be either made out of pocket by the borrower or from a reserve created from loan funds, so that those payments are being made from loan funds during the construction, and that they don't have to make rent payments plus the new PITI payment while the house is being built.
Now, that's got to make a big difference, with the way this sounds. It seems like every construction lender out there would be chomping at the bit to get their hands on this program. What are you seeing as far as lenders adopting it and coming on board? You think everybody would be doing this right now?
Sure would, and when lenders learn about it, we're glad to be able to share any and all information about it to get them started with it.
What kind of challenges have you seen in launching a program like this?
Mainly awareness.
Hmm.
We don't really have an advertising budget, but so our programs are carried out through the network of employees with USDA across the nation, and including our education lender and partner activities branch. So
No marketing budget, $0 spent.
that's right.
So this is literally, like, technically, literally the best kept secret that's out there, simply because you know can't get out there and shout from the rooftops that this program exists, and get a billboard in Times Square, and get on Housing Wire and all the publications out there.
That would be great.
How do
Chiming in a little bit here, Sean. We really appreciate our partnership with Land Gorilla and for you hosting this podcast. A couple of other points I'd like to make about the program is, I'm going to talk about the securitizable version in a little bit, but we find that our performance numbers are much better by 350 basis points when it comes to this single closed product compared to just purchasing existing dwellings. That's a 30-day plus delinquency rate. It's much better than the rest of our book of business. And one of the challenges we find, other than having no advertising budget, it's important that we have partners like you to help spread the word. But we find that when we do talk to construction lenders, if it's somebody in the front office, if it's sales staff, or folks that are out there in the trenches, their loan operating systems really accommodate the interest-only version, which is the old-fashioned kind of single closed interest-only version with an amortization, a REAM at the end of construction. And the systems don't really handle principal and interest payments without a REAM at the end. That's our securitizable version. We find that if we are able to talk with the capital markets person at a lender's shop, that person realizes the value of being able to securitize a loan immediately before construction begins and long before the REAM. Investors like to see principal and interest payments from the start. An investor in a security doesn't want to pay interest only. They don't want to receive interest only payments. So that is the key, as you said earlier, Sean. It's principal and interest from the start without a REAM. It's like a regular 30-year fixed rate loan.
Well, that's pretty amazing there, and I think we're having some connectivity problems here, Joaquin. Ed, maybe you go ahead and take this question.
Yes. So as Joaquin was saying, it's a closed loan. From the start, it's a closed 30-year amortized loan. So that loan that will have the PITI payments being made on it, the income stream for the secondary lender, and that's what they like to see.
So we need more secondary teams to listen to this podcast today, right?
That's right. Absolutely.
And what do the conversations tend to look like once you get the attention of the secondary guys? Is it just pretty much getting in front of them, and all of a sudden light bulbs start going off?
That's
The
right.
screens are coming back. I'm not sure what it is. I'm connected. Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you great. We can hear you great if you can hear us.
I can hear you.
There we go. Yeah, we were just talking about, just is it a matter of getting in front of those secondary teams, and light bulbs start going off?
Joaquin, would you like to take that one?
Please do, Ed. Thank you.
Okay. Yes. So, yeah, once they understand that the payments are being made, it's an income stream for the secondary lender, and it's sellable right away. It's like an aha moment for the secondary markets folks within lenders. So we'd love to be able to talk to more of them and explain the product and the loan feature.
Well, hopefully after this podcast, we get some secondary teams and leaders there stepping forward, wanting to learn more. And I imagine that once they do bring a program like this on board, a lot of similarities to selling other construction or construction to perm loan programs, but I imagine there'd be a birth of originators out there too that would all of a sudden develop the muscle memory and ability to articulate this program and get out there and for lack of a better term, sell the program to borrowers. Are you seeing any challenges there in the teams that are out there trying to originate this loan product?
Again, just having folks be aware of it, from their end, just being able to have them market it as a no down payment, single close construction loan. Don't we always have to remind everybody that it carries the same features as the purchase loans of USDA, and the fact that it's a no down payment loan. You can roll closing costs in up to the appraised value, including the payment reserves we mentioned earlier. So once the public is kind of aware of the loan feature, I think it would be much easier to sell.
So you could roll in the reserves. You could probably roll in a little bit of a contingency account,
Can
for unforeseen items.
Right.
But the benefit of knowing your interest rate day one, not having to modify, not having to convert, um, that seems like a huge selling point to me.
Yeah.
How does this program work with like renovation programs? Can you use the same program? Is there a separate program? Is there a fine line between what constitutes a renovation versus new construction, like getting down to the slab of an existing home and tearing the whole thing down? Is what happens there?
Yeah, as far as reno loans, we also have a single close loan feature for those as well. So the single close would cover the purchase of the home, and then at the same time be able to roll in any proposed renovations, so that the lender would get the as is and as improved value. So those costs of construction or repairs, sorry, not construction, but the cost of the repairs can be rolled in up to that as improved value. On the appraisal. So, um, yeah, it's very similar to the 203K, I believe, and it's we have some parameters where if they are taking the house down, I think the original foundation has to be left in place, but they can take it down to the original foundation and then build from the foundation up.
How does a lot of interest on affordability, right? And we're currently in a market where we're probably not going to see a whole lot of that traditional inventory coming into the market, especially with people with such low interest rates today that are already kind of locked in place, is what they say. How do these programs, the renovation program or mainly the new construction program, it sounds like, align with affordability goals and affordable housing?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. When there's a lack of housing stock out there, as we're seeing now and have seen in previous years, folks just don't have the options available to buy existing houses. So basically, what's left would be to, hey, we can build our own home. We can build our dream home. You know, a lot of folks it kind of are kind of shocked when they realize they can do that still with a no down payment program. So I know when I tell this story when my wife and I were much younger, when the program was first coming into existence in 1991, the guarantee program, that is. I was out there marketing the program and trying to get it off the ground, and was thinking, hey, maybe we fit this mold. Well, I got good income, decent credit, stable income. So we were able to build a house through the program back in 1994. So
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people that are listening to this podcast are probably thinking the same thing. It's like, wow, this actually sounds like something I can get into. What are the typical qualifications that USDA applies? I think there's something around location or income. Can you take me through that a little
Yes.
bit?
That's right. So the two things that are mentioned in the Housing Act of 1949 that allowed us to start making loans through the direct program. That's a whole different set of rules and regulations in the 502 direct program. But the guaranteed loans came about in 91, and we still have to make loans or guarantee loans in rural areas.
Mhm.
That's typically a town or city of 35,000 or less than 35,000 in population. So it has to be rural by that definition. And then the household has to be under certain income limits. And the talking point on that is it has to be less than 115% of median area income, which for most counties in the United States, the least of the maximum. So every county has a maximum amount. And so if
Mhm.
you look at all the counties in the nation, you'll see different, varying amounts. But the lowest of that maximum amount was 112,000 some odd dollars now for any area in the United States. So metro areas that still have some rural areas around the perimeter of a metro area, those areas can be much higher in income, household income.
What's the max you've seen that in the United States?
It's probably going to be, high cost areas. Matter of fact, Sean, I'm
I'm from
trying to
California,
memorize.
so this is
Yeah,
important. I'm from California.
I've tried to memorize the low end. I haven't tried to memorize the high end. So I'm sure it can be, fairly hefty there.
Yeah,
And
there's there,
that's for a family of 1 to 4. The 112, I think it's 112,450. That's a family of 1 to 4, and above that, it gets on up to around 100 and close to 150,000, I think, for different areas. So
wow. This reminds me. I follow a guy on social media, super super funny, and he leads every segment that he does with. So you're telling me, and then he goes into something that the way a milk carton's supposed to be open, that nobody ever knew it was supposed to be open that way, and
yeah,
that's how I feel right now. So you're telling me that for 1% or no percent down, 1% down, if I have qualifying income and the home's in a location, that I can get a construction loan fully amortized, roll in my interest payments, and build my dream home.
that's it. Actually, for no down payment. So yeah,
No down
no
payment.
down payment.
What's,
Absolutely.
what's the difference between 1% and no down payment?
Well, what do you mean?
So it's just zero down payment.
Zero down payment. Yes, the 1%. The only time we talk about 1%, there's a one time guarantee fee of 1% of the loan amount.
Okay,
But
they could be financed.
they can be financed. That's right. That's right. In
This,
all cases, so we can actually take that fee. We can finance that fee or have the lender finance that, and we'll guarantee it. That the only amount that can exceed the appraised value is the guarantee fee. So technically, it's 101% LTV product, but we don't advertise it as that. But we can always roll in that guarantee fee.
I mean, it's like the ShamWow guy. This sounds like too too good to be true. Maybe he's not a good example, but it does. It's unbelievable. I mean, the benefits are unbelievable. The features are absolutely perfect. And I just keep coming back to, why isn't everybody offering this program? Why do you not have loan originators flooding the internet with information about this program and what it could do? I mean, we're here in the center of this significant housing crisis, housing shortage, and you'd expect to see signs up everywhere marketing this program,
Sure would.
and they're not.
That's right.
Well, aside from this podcast, what can we do to help?
Gosh, anything to help get the word out about it. Just word of mouth is a big one. Lender conventions, realtor conventions. The realtor partners, along with our builders, are are an integral part of the process. You know, a lot of times the realtors are the first professional real estate professional that buyers see, and if they're not liking what they see in the existing inventory, then you know they should be able to seriously consider building a new house. Some people don't want to go through the process, but I've been through it once years ago, and it was a very pleasant process. So,
What kind of advice would you give to people, given that you've gone through this process? You know, what kind of advice would you give them if they're out thinking about it, and any tips or tricks?
one of the biggest I used to kind of give is to shop around lender rates and closing costs.
Mhm.
You're not only shopping for the best rate, but for the closing costs as well. And you know, take your time, go into it with your eyes wide open, educate yourself on the mortgage process. Be patient. Expect to have to jump through some hoops, but if you just be patient and take it one step at a time, you can actually get through it. So
Did
it's
you get a
exciting.
construction? Did you get a construction loan?
We did. Yeah, it was not a single close.
USDA.
Yeah, it was before the single close was ever implemented. We got the two-time close. I wish we had had the single close back then. It would have saved us some money and some time. So
So you're a living, walking example of, hey, the two-time close costs you a little bit more money.
yes.
Did rates change while you were building?
They did. We were kind of on pins and needles for a while, hoping the builder could finish up while the rates were low at that time. And I kept calling him every day saying, when can we finish up and close this permanent loan? And we finally did. But so with the single close, folks don't have to worry about that because the loan's already closed. And that's one of the big differentiating factors for lenders to understand is that it's not a conventional construction loan, on a temporary basis, and then you have to lock the loan at the end of the construction period. This is a locked loan from day one. It's a 30-year amortized locked loan, whether it's interest only or the securitizable version. The interest only would have to be reamortized, at the end of construction and reamortized within the remaining period of that 30-year term, less the construction time. So there
Wow.
is that. So it's the 30-year closed loan.
Well, this is my last question here regarding the construction of perm is,
Okay.
what inspired the USDA to even create a program like this?
Yeah, we saw the need out there. Our 502 Direct program had a similar type of product for new construction, but it was not well, it is kind of a single close loan as well. Um, and we just didn't have that in the guaranteed program. And so I remember years and years ago talking with Joaquin about the need for that, and how we could get there. And Joaquin spent a lot of hours and a lot of effort getting this program structured the way it is, and getting it off the ground and getting it, through all the approval process. And so Joaquin, he's had to drop off for a second for connectivity issues, but he was very instrumental in getting this program to structure to what it looks like today.
Yeah, it's when you look back in time, we flash forward and we're able to look back. I think these are the kinds of programs that you could be really, really proud of.
Absolutely.
Home ownership is important, but there's a lot of different options out there for home ownership. This one helps create housing. And
Absolutely.
it's not just a financing vehicle. It's you're creating something. You're putting people to work. You're helping somebody build, something amazing, as
Yeah, I
part
was
of
going to
the.
say, it's helping employ people in the community. The roofers, the framers, the plumbers, the electricians, all of that, concrete guys.
The economics that go into building a home, the architectural plans, the permits that stay local, the framer that's local, like watching that dollar, get recycled over and over and over. It's not building a $400,000, $500,000 home. It's what that does in the actual community gets spent so many times over
That's
that
right.
the impact is phenomenal, and
Not only
as
that, but the community gets the tax base from the property taxes as well, where renters don't pay taxes, but homeowners do. So
too bad we can't get the cities and townships and everything out there advocating for this program. Hey, we need more of it. Hey, we like they're a big beneficiary in itself. And I think home builders should be taking advantage of this too and out promoting it, especially if they're in qualifying areas. So
see,
um,
one of the things about that is they're not using their own capital or their own lines of credit, because that the draws are made against the construction loan. It's the permanent loan, but it's draws being made from that permanent loan to pay those construction costs.
and the USDA is there, holding your hand. That's pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. Well, I absolutely love this program. I love what you guys are doing with it. I wish that we just snap our fingers and get everybody originating it today. That'd just be phenomenal, and we'll work hard to do that. As we near the podcast, we get into our rapid fire session, and if you've heard any of the podcasts before, I'm just gonna start throwing some questions at you, and you do your best to answer. You ready, Ed?
Okay, I guess so.
Okay. One of my favorites recently is if there was one regulation that you could remove, just snapping your fingers, what would it be?
Oh my goodness.
Or it could be a guideline or some sort of policy change at the USDA. I'll give you that.
Well, it's kind of interesting that you mentioned that, because we'd like to be able to reach more families, and having a household income is kind of limiting to that, because even though somebody right now, as it stands and as it has always stood with USDA, if someone has income in the household, even though they're not on the loan, we have to count that income toward those maximum income limits. If we took the lid off of that, not necessarily take the lid completely off, but limit it to only the income, the dependable and stable income of that applicant. And we're working toward trying to get that done, to where that would be a huge shift for USDA, because for the 35, 36 years I've been with the agency, and long before that, since 1949, it's always been household income going toward those income limits. So if we eliminated anybody else in the household having to count toward that household income, except for that applicant or and co-applicant, that would really be helpful. So,
And how do you go about getting a change like that? Is that an act of Congress, or is that something that is policy change internally? How does that work?
um, it's an interpretation, and so yes, it basically at this point it's a internal policy change.
That is pretty dang cool. Pretty dang cool. Now, I've already asked you if you'd ever build your own home, and you actually, are one of the few that have actually gone out there and did it, and you gave some good advice on how to do that. So I'm going to do a little mini follow up to that. Is
Okay.
how do you recommend picking a builder?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, asking questions in the community. For most of the time, if somebody is interested in new construction, they may already have in mind and have heard of, builders' names out there. But just talk to, ask community groups, builders associations. Sometimes, the local builders associations can be able to give names, and just start your own vetting process. Just ask around about reputations of builders, and that's kind of my best advice there.
Oh no, that's great. Right now, here's a one that's a little out in left field, but probably
Okay.
one of my favorites. And I learned more about asking this question than any of them. But what's a recent product or service that you've discovered that you'd highly recommend or can't live without? And by means of an example, I got my Ember mug that keeps my coffee the same temperature every time, and I absolutely love it.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, um, several years ago, when I was more of hands-on in the construction side of things, I learned about solar panels, that they don't have to be thick, bulky panels on the roof of your house. Some of them are about a quarter of an inch thick, and they're almost like a rubber mat that go on people's roofs. And so that was very eye opening for me to be able to capture the energy of the sun through something as low profile and sensible as a solar panel. That's not real bulky or unsightly. So that's always been real cool to me.
Yeah, I have a neighbor that just did the Tesla tiles on the house, and they're absolutely beautiful.
Really,
You really can't even tell that the home
really.
has solar. And then you compare it to the home next door, where it's got a tile roof and it's got posts, and then the solar panels, big thick ones, sit on top of it, and they're kind of patchy and and they're just ugly. And then
Yeah,
you
yeah,
compare it to some of the newer technology today, and they're absolutely gorgeous.
yeah.
So,
Follow up to that is I also think the 3D printed houses are really cool. Waiting
oh,
for that to take off like wildfire.
anybody ever gets a chance to go to a builder show and see some of those demos, it is they're phenomenal. Even going on YouTube, I follow a bunch of people that do the kind of 3D printing models with it's like a 3D printer concrete, or it's the blocks, and the thing comes out and moves the blocks, and just some of those
Right.
are just so enjoyable to watch get built.
Right.
But Ed, such a pleasure having you on the podcast today. Thank you and Joaquin. Wish his internet didn't have trouble today. But if anybody wants to learn more, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you and Joaquin?
Yes, so we have an email address. Let me pull that up real briefly. It's see if I can remember it here. It is it and it's stands for Single Family Housing Guaranteed Loan Division. So that's SFHGLD dot lenderpartner@usda.gov.
Oh, that's easy. And you know what? To make it easy on everybody else, and so they don't get a spell it incorrectly or miss the punctuation, we'll go ahead and host it here with the podcast and put your contact information as well, if that helps.
Thank you. Excellent. It's always a pleasure, Sean.
Well, thanks for joining us, and we hope to have you guys back soon. Absolutely a pleasure, and look forward to seeing great things to come from the construction program with the USDA.
Sounds good. Thank you so much for the partnership we have with Land Gorilla as well.
Thanks, Ed.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
This podcast is intended for educational and informational purposes only and does not replace independent professional judgment. Land Gorilla Inc. makes no representations, warranties, or promises for and disclaims any express or implied warranties related to content. Before acting on any information, you should consider the appropriateness of the information as it pertains to your unique business needs.